Welcome to the Digital Signage Today podcast. I'm editor Daniel Brown, and this is presented by Networld Media Group. We've got a very special guest today, Will Bear from Crimson AV. Will, do you want to introduce yourself to us?
Sure. Hi. Yep. Will Bear with Crimson AV, Vice President of Sales. Been in the industry over 15 years now with Crimson. I guess approaching 12 years now. Gee, time flies. But held a couple different roles here and currently overseeing the sales team. So it's great to be with you.
That's awesome. Well, I just got to see you for the second time at an Infocom event, I believe, just a few weeks ago in Las Vegas. It was a little bit sweaty. I'm less sweaty than I was then.
Yeah. Well,
and I got to say,
it's pretty sweaty here, I must say. That whole debate about the dry heat versus the humid heat here in the Baltimore area, it's been, 95 and
has it really?
Brutal,
oh my gosh.
Humidity.
Oh my gosh. So I won't go to the East Coast on my vacation. We'll nix that.
Not this time of year. Mm-mm.
Well, you volunteered to help us with a topic that we have been starting to cover more and more and more because it seems to be heating up in a big way. This sort of realm of sports digital signage in the past couple of years has kind of exploded, and we've seen so many big brands jumping in. It used to be the domain of maybe one large player for a long time. And what I like about your background, what I gather is, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, you have a wonderful position. You supply like back-end support for a lot of these installations. You get to be the fly on the wall watching the battle royale. It's almost like you don't really have a stake in it. You're providing support services in a way. So you can objectively tell us what the heck is going on. Would you say that's a fair summary?
Yeah, I agree. Crimson the core business is the AV mounting solution. So we support all the display providers and all the new and up and coming trends within the industry. Manufacturer kiosks and the like that also support those same trends. And also a huge sports fan that likes to go to sporting events. So I can hopefully had some insight from a consumer's perspective as well as kind of how I see some of these trends developing.
Well, I've got to ask now, what's your team? Just go on the record.
Hometown sports guy, Baltimore Orioles and Ravens, and then my true love is Penn State football. So.
Oh wow! So you're a busy guy. You've got a lot to catch up on every week. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's great.
Much to the disdain of my wife, but
oh no, we all need hobbies. It's okay. This is a safe space. So,
Sure.
What would you say are some of the big trends that you've seen? Like, what are some of the big changes in the past couple of years?
So, certainly one of the big trends the last couple of years that for sure is going to continue. I think I saw it referred to as going mega in an article that I had read recently. So every new venue that's being built, there's this push to have the biggest, boldest, most immersive display, from an LED technology perspective. So the Cowboys built their stadium. That might be going back 10 years now, but they had the largest LED display. I know that, Vegas has since built their football stadium. I was reading an article the other day about, I think Citi Field has the largest LED display in a Major League Baseball, and it was like 17,000 square feet. And of course, then the Oakland Athletics are going to move to Las Vegas, and they're planning a stadium, and it's going to be 18,000 square feet. So, bigger, bolder, more immersive. I think, as I'm sure you'd agree, across all the entertainment venues, there's a huge fight, over the demand of people's entertainment dollars. And certainly, going to the stadiums can be quite expensive. So there's just this sort of arms race to do bigger and better. Also, from the fans' perspective, I think, at least the way I've experienced it, and the whole idea of going mega is, the in-home sort of sports watching experience is pretty great, Sure. So they're also competing with just staying home and, watching television. So the actual game day experience at any sporting venue, you just use the term, it's just really more all about the experience and not just about watching, your favorite team.
Right.
So for me, it was always like,
well, if I could just say, I love that you bring that up, and don't mean to kind of forgive me, but this is such a huge trend across every industry, I think, in the post-COVID global realm of trying to draw back in the pedestrian traffic, if you will. And we've seen it everywhere from shopping malls to gas stations. Everything's an experience now. You have to make everything an experience that's immersive and interactive. And what's the other one? The marketers love to say, surprise and delight. surprise and delight. They always say that. And even if it's a sports stadium or going to pick up, a can of Coca-Cola, it's got to be an experience now. So that is very, very hot in the industry.
Sure. And then the going mega kind of allows you to, again, thinking about it from putting on my fan perspective hat, your big games, the ones you're most excited about, there was a time I think where you had to choose between, do I want to be part of that experience and just be with the crowd and the excitement, but actually watch the game, and that was probably maybe a better experience at home. But now a lot of these venues with these huge LED boards, you can kind of have the best of both worlds where you're able to do both, be a part of the excitement, part of the fan experience, all the interactivity, be with your fellow friends and fans, but then also get a really good viewing experience as well. So.
And that's something that you don't get at home, the community feel. The same with going to a real shopping mall. I've seen a lot of trends of people going back to retail stores, and they talk about being around other people is such a key element that you don't get on your phone, scrolling through, watching the videos.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then I guess, part two of the going mega is just the number of displays, and all the different, I think the large LED boards get all the attention, but, some of these deployments are thousands of LCD displays as well that also sort of enhance the fan experience in terms of the viewing experience, but also enhance the experience from a marketing perspective, interactivity, wayfinding, and just other sort of fan experience type like options, basically. So
that's amazing. Well, I so agree with you, and I remember we chatted with some of the folks that helped install the Mega Spectaculars at Minute Maid Stadium 2022? And they said there's among the owners, there's almost a bidding war. They're like, I want to be the guy with the biggest display. I want to have bragging rights, which is fascinating. Sure. But it's not just about the gigantic ones. You just brought up a great point. It's also the LED ribbon displays. It's also the concessionaires need displays. It's also wayfinding. We're seeing lots of AI-based wayfinding where there's one stadium that just installed a system. I can't remember if it was Omnivex, where the AI will tell the patrons, okay, there's a backup at this hot dog stand, but if you go across the way, there's no waiting. You know what I'm saying? At the other one. Or this is the exit where you can get to your car faster, which is crazy. Have you seen that?
Yeah. I have not seen that one personally, but certainly, those next two trends that you mentioned are the other big two, the just continued enhancements of interactivity and then the AI component that kind of plays into that and a bunch of others. It's, again, getting back to the fan experience, just, you mentioned like one of the basic ones, wayfinding and just sort of making it a more pleasurable experience, finding and getting to where you need to be. But, using interactivity to do a lot more fan engagement, I've seen stuff like, where you can interact with stats, history, history of your team type stuff. These virtual, take a photo with your, favorite player, but it's, it's virtual interactions in that regards. The big one too that kind of ties into the interactivity, but also then into these boards is the whole social media experience, right? A lot of hashtag campaigns. You go to every sporting event now, and there's a hashtag about post yourself and trying to get yourself up onto the big board throughout the game. I know my wife loves to do that and everything that we go to too. So, kind of bringing it all together in that regard.
I've got to ask, have you been on the big board? Did you make it?
We did once, yeah. We went to the
awesome.
We went to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena last year. We made it up there, so
that's fun. That is so cool.
Sure.
So you basically just take the hashtag and you tweet it? Well, you can't say tweet anymore. I guess you exit to the team, or how does that work?
I think it's still tweet, I guess. But yes, that's most likely the case. Use the hashtag and tweeting it, and then they'll put it up on the board, and you see yourself. As they during like different breaks and stuff, as they're cycling through, you're waiting to see if you made it up there. So
that's awesome. Well, and so as we have so many brands that would love to get a piece of this pie, and again, I'm saying it's not just the pro teams. There's a huge resurgence, I guess, among the college and high school and even elementary school fields that need various scoreboards and things, and they're getting into the interactivity. What are some tips that you might have for software, hardware providers, integrators? What works and what doesn't work as you're trying to get into this diversifying field?
Yeah, I mean, my experience always has been, and this is just digital signage as a whole, again, watching it from the mounting solutions provider. So a lot of times we're the last consideration there. The environment, the content, and all that stuff's been decided. And then we're brought in to sort of help integrate things. And it's a very important part. That's why we have so many different SKUs and so many options. And we're so strong in the custom spaces to help sort of bring that to fruition. But it always really starts with the content. I mean, that's always the number one driving factor is what are you trying to show? What are you trying to get your audience to interact with? And then everything just kind of falls from there. So it's always, start with the content, think about how you want to deploy that into the environment, and then everything kind of falls in place from there.
I love that. It's one of the classic messages. We've been preaching it for 2 years. It doesn't matter how flashy and cool your gadget is if you don't have anything cool to put on the screen. And there was when I first started, I interviewed, he had just retired, a 30-year veteran of the industry. And he told this story about I think it was a Canadian bank that had a $15 million digital signage installation. And on the launch day, the screens were black. They hadn't even thought about what they were going to put on the screen. So it was just a black screen in every branch on opening day. Yeah, and he said, content, you've got to have your content. And one of the other things that you mentioned with fan interactivity that I love seeing, I'm a huge nut, I don't care who the provider is, of the hologram revolution. And it's been slow in coming, but I think it's speeding up. And I saw a few announcements. The two biggest players I know of, I think, are probably Proto and Looking Glass. And I think there are others that are starting to move in. And there was a Proto installation where you could meet MLB players as holograms. And I think it was live streamed, like you'd have a conversation with them. It wasn't just a recording. And I was like, holy crap, this is the future. Like being able to meet your favorite players. That's amazing.
Amazing. Yep. I did see that as well. It's crazy. Yep.
I'm curious to see. And again, it's this weird cost factor thing because with LEDs, it's like Moore's Law with the chips, right? The price keeps coming down. So more and more people can get involved. You can afford the spectaculars. But with the holograms and some of the emerging tech, it's so new. I don't know how long it'll take for the prices to come down for more people. Like, I don't think you're going to go to your elementary school this year and have like a hologram of the coach or something.
Sure. But, to your point, I think, these large stadiums, these billions and billions of dollar investments, they're where this technology is proven, right? The stuff that you see, I don't know what the time frame is, but, you're right. The stuff you mentioned earlier, it's trickling down into college. And then even, from a scoreboard LED technology perspective, most, if not a lot of, high school gymnasiums and outdoors, especially in the, basketball and football environments, this technology is making its way into there. Now, you mentioned at the beginning, the large, the new Oakland A's stadiums, the biggest deployments recently with like the Citi Fields and the SoFi's have been, the big national major players have gotten into that. But at the, and it's really hard for smaller companies to get involved in those projects for a lot of reasons. A lot of times these are marketing deals where marketing budgets are thrown at it, so they can offer huge discounts on hardware and things like that. But you get down into the smaller colleges and at the local level, the high school level and so forth. There's a lot of opportunity for companies like us and other companies like us. So. Well, and one of the other things I saw at oh gosh, there's so many shows now. I can't remember. I think it was in Texas. There was a wonderful display by BrightSign, and it was a smart AI-fueled, AI-powered locker for college basketball lockers, I think it was the example. And they're installing these lockers where it can recognize a player as they walk up and unlock for them, and it can show customized content and like the extension of digital signage to the team itself and their locker spaces. And then to the, what's the word? Oh, the special, if you pay extra, you can get into the clubhouse, I guess, to watch games at pro sports. Sure, it's like everywhere. A club level type thing. Yeah.
The digital signage, people are realizing it really does enhance everywhere. It's not just the scoreboards.
Absolutely. And it all ties together. Again, it's the blanket is the experience, but the scoreboards, the interactive stuff, the kiosks, the small format displays. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's risky. This is a risky business to predict anything, as we've all seen, because things can turn on a dime. But if you had to get your crystal ball out, what would you say is probably coming in the next couple of years in this space? Do you see any rumbles, any major trends coming?
Well, I think, I think the three big ones are the ones we've already kind of discussed. Is that the mega will just continue to become even more mega, if there's even a word for that. Increased interactivity. Kind of taking, thinking again from the fan perspective. The things that have always been a part of these venues, meeting players, getting autographs, interacting with them, but that becoming, virtual through things like hologram technology that you mentioned. And then the one we didn't touch on as much, but you mentioned briefly, the whole idea of AI. You mentioned the locker and it recognizing faces, but this is an all digital signage, but the more tailored the experience to the individual person, the better. And that's where AI is making huge, significant, contributions and advancements, down to the, I read some articles about, software that will just analyze the demographics of a stadium and kind of, draw some conclusions about averages and then tailor content, to the demographic basically, or individual stuff, people, season ticket holders, as they're going to their seats, the facial recognition that sees them coming and tailors messages, directly to them. And that, I think that's happening so fast. It's hard to even predict how quickly these things happen. But the effect of AI on all the things we've talked about is continue to be amazing. So
I can't even keep up, dude. Literally, there's 25 new articles every morning, and I'm like, holy crap, it's moving faster than you can watch it. It's nuts. It's nuts. Well, listen, we're going to have you on again because 15 minutes goes fast. And
that went way too fast. Yeah.
I'm just saying, thank you so much, Will, for making time for us. I think this is a great way to keep a pulse on what's happening because you're there in the stadiums as a fan. You're doing the installation work. You're paying attention to what's happening. And I'm excited. I think this is just a huge growth area. And we'll be in touch with you as you keep observing what's going on in this field.
Sure. Love to do it again. Yep. And dig deeper. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, this has been the Digital Signage Today podcast presented by Networld Media Group. This is Daniel Brown, editor of Digital Signage Today. And I just had on Will Bear from Crimson AV talking about sports digital signage. Please do like and subscribe for additional episodes. We've got some really hot topics coming out this summer. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes. Thanks again for having me.